this is an intense piece. It had all the elements of a spy genre, of an investigation genre. I was like, is this really worthy of that? A fish trade? Until we dove into it, and it went in so deep that it was worthy of the epic score, of the breakneck pacing, of the intensity of the filmmaking and of the curation of it. I was absolutely hooked, pun intended, to this deep dive into the cartel and the illegal trading of fish. I never heard of the Totoaba, and I had no idea that it went so deep. I thought the perspectives that we were afforded through this deep dive was vast and intricate, and really took us into this large map that they traced on the intelligence agency's tracking of this poaching and trafficking trade, finding the insider Chinese teams running this in Mexico, and then seeing how the cartel protected and facilitated this, and the danger surrounding this because of how much money is at stake. So it really had such a large scope, but very in depth. I appreciated how thorough they went with this, but then also bring the elements of the morality, and how can we allow people to just bleed this species dry for their own profit.
Such a wild ride from start to finish. Really, really fascinating, because you're dealing with two different cartels, two different really powerful, dangerous leaders of these cartels. You're dealing with two different governments that both have corruption within them. And then you're dealing with the like Interpol and journalists who are just trying to do everything they can to catch these criminals. And wow, it's so intense, and it watches and reads like a crime show, but it's real life. Just insane. And it's really unfortunate that, there are corrupt people within the governments that are protecting these certain people. So it's really hard to make any movements. The main investigative journalist that was speaking throughout this, he was so charismatic. He was so passionate about it. And I listening to him and his story and everything that he's doing to try and uncover this was my personal favorite part. I thought that he was just such a wonderful subject.
I had never heard of the Cartel of the Sea before, or this Totoaba trade at all. So it was very interesting for me to learn about. I never would have thought something as simple as a fishing trade would be so dangerous, and be in line with the same cartels that deal with human trafficking and drug trafficking and all that terrible stuff. This documentary had so many exclusive sources, and people who had to have their identities, blocked from us, which I thought was super interesting, and really shows the lengths that these people went to get this information out there, which I appreciated. The fact that we have this huge trade that is the two-headed monster, as it said in the documentary, of the drug cartels in Mexico, or not just but the cartels in Mexico, operating with these Chinese organized crime organizations in China to bring these fish bladders to the people who use them. It was just very interesting to see this international trade and how these people involved are internationally wanted. Such an interesting subject matter. It was a gripping, super interesting narrative.
Loved their kind of approach to it, where they kind of set you up and slowly took you through, like, this is how seriously we're taking it. This is what this huge agency is, this is part of what they're doing. And then they took you through, like, the importance of the animal itself, how it's endangered, and then just kind of tracking from there, like, their entire investigation and the kind of pitfalls and the tips and the, different, like, avenues of investigation, from, like, tracing where their biggest issue is coming from, like, where their biggest poachers are coming or where the market's coming from, and tracing it back and tracing it back and tracing it back to the people that are actually doing, the poaching, to the entire, like I said, that kind of avenue of investigation. It was really, really thorough, and they had so many different people commenting and so many different people being interviewed and giving their input.
I'm actually surprised that the two guys from the back base actually were interviewed. Well, one of the guys was just standing there, but I was very surprised that they showed themselves on TV, even with part of their face covered, but their voice was out there. And kudos to some of these people who are actually risking themselves to be on this documentary even, or to speak up about these things that are going on. And yeah, I think sometimes when we're told about these nets and the fishing nets that are going out to catch certain species, that we forget that a bunch of other species are being endangered as well. So that was, to me, this is very informative and intriguing, and it has a lot of great content as far as, hidden cameras. All the footage and the interviews are really, legit. And so watching it is kind of scary and intriguing at the same time.
A perfect watch for anyone who's either interested or passionate about environmental concerns or concerns of endangered species and protecting the planet overall. And it's also a really fascinating watch for anyone who enjoys crime documentaries. It's really informative, it's extremely well told, really great explanations, and just very much engaging.